My name is Detective Pierce. For most of my life, I've walked paths others avoid, following trails carved not by criminals, but by something deeper, older, and far more dangerous. I came to the desert for solitude, not the peace of a vacation, nor the idle calm of a retreat, but the kind of stillness only the dunes could offer. No signal, no noise, just silence and dust stretching endlessly under a sun that didn't blink. The place was called Ash Mesa, though the maps rarely marked it. A ghost town at the edge of nowhere, burned out, wind-bitten, and half swallowed by sandstorms. I rented a crumbling shack near the ruins. The air was dry, and the horizon shimmered with mirages, but for the first time in months, I didn't feel watched. That changed on the third night. I was woken by something I couldn't name. No sound, just a sensation, like a thought someone else had pushed into my mind. I sat up. The shack was dark, wind howled outside. But something was wrong. The air was colder. I grabbed my coat, flashlight, and revolver and stepped into the desert night. Footprints, bare, deep, fresh. They led away from the shack, toward the ruins, toward the old church, long buried in sand. The footprints were too large for a child. Toes spread unnaturally wide, almost animal-like, but not quite. I followed them across the dunes, my flashlight catching glimpses of shifting sand and broken stone. The desert was quiet, too quiet, like it was holding its breath. The closer I got to the ruins of the old church, the more I felt it. A hum beneath the earth. Not sound, not vibration. Something in the spine. The church had no roof left. Its walls were half swallowed by the dunes, like time itself had tried to erase it. Carvings lined the stone archway, sun-worn, but I could still make out symbols. Not Christian. Older. Geometric spirals, fractured circles, something like runes, but not any language I recognized. Inside, the sand had piled high, but I could still see remnants of an altar, and something else, a figure kneeling, naked, skin burned red and dry from sun exposure. Their back was to me, hunched over, head bowed. "Sir?" I called out. "Are you all right?" No response. I stepped closer, my hand on my weapon. That's when I saw it, carved into their back. Not written, etched. The same spirals from the doorway. Deep, deliberate, fresh. "Sir, I need you to stand up." Slowly. Still nothing. Just breath. Wet, raspy, unnatural. I moved to circle around, and saw their face. Eyes wide. Lips sewn shut. But they were smiling. The body was still warm. Whoever had done this hadn't gone far. I radioed the sheriff's office in the nearest town, 2 hours away, but got nothing but static. Of course. I checked my coordinates, marked the site, and returned to the shack for backup gear, maps, a compass, and something I hadn't needed in years, a hand-cranked audio recorder. If I was losing my mind, I needed proof of it. But back at the shack, I found something else. The inside had been ransacked, but methodically. My clothes, my journal, all untouched. Only one thing was missing, my father's compass. I hadn't used it in years, but it had never left my bag. Now it was gone. In its place, a piece of parchment, wedged under the lantern. Same spirals, same ink, but this time, they were moving. I stared too long, I think. Time folded in ways I couldn't track. I snapped out of it only when I felt the floor beneath me shift. The shack was sinking. No, being swallowed by the sand. I ran. Outside, the wind had picked up. A storm was rolling in, one I hadn't seen coming on any forecast. The desert didn't want me here. But someone, or something, did. The storm lasted all night. I sheltered in the crevice of a dried-out ravine, clutching my recorder and pistol while the sky roared above like some ancient god had woken from sleep. Sand scraped everything. My skin, my eyes, even my thoughts. I didn't sleep. I listened, and I heard chanting. Faint, carried by the wind, but unmistakable. Not Arabic, not any language I knew. The cadence was wrong, staggered. Like they weren't speaking, they were remembering. At sunrise I followed it. I crossed miles of shifting sand, dehydration scratching at the edge of my vision, until I found them, half-buried stones forming a circle. Not random, deliberate. Weathered bones arranged carefully around each one. In the center, a pit. Inside it, another body. Female. middle-aged, burned, ritualistic cuts along the wrists and chest. But here's the part that stopped me cold. A photograph pinned to her blouse. Of me. Taken yesterday. Someone had known I'd come. Not by accident. Not by coincidence. I wasn't pulled into this case. I was invited. I checked the perimeter, gun drawn, heart mechanical. No movement. No signs of life. Just the desert and the circling vultures above. Then I saw it. Behind a crumbled stone, partially buried, a pack. Inside, something that didn't belong here. A notebook, wrapped in plastic. Recent. English handwriting. It belonged to a woman named Amelia Crow, a fringe anthropologist from the University of Nevada, reported missing 6 months ago. Pages filled with sketches of symbols, rituals, local myths. Something she called the Hollow Sun cult. She wrote of a migrating ritual, performed every 78 years when the sun and blood align, always in a different desert, always requiring a willing guide to complete the chain. She believed the cult died out in the 1800s. She was wrong. Following her notes, I returned to the stone circle at dusk. I brought fire, gasoline, matches, salt, not for protection, for closure. I burned the bones, every one of them. I destroyed the pit, smashed the stones, let the flames carry whatever lingered up into the black sky. And then, as the fire died, I heard it again, chanting, fainter now, retreating. I didn't chase it. Instead, I retrieved my recorder, clicked it on, and spoke the final log. Detective Pierce, personal file. Case reference, Desert Spiral. Location, unnamed, coordinates southwest of Red Valley. Primary findings, cultic activity confirmed. 5 victims. Unknown number of suspects. 1 missing anthropologist presumed dead. Suspect intention unknown. Motive, belief in sun-based resurrection cycle. Outcome, ritual disrupted. Site neutralized, threat dormant, for now. I returned to the sheriff's office 2 days later. Dust-covered, dehydrated, silent. They told me no storm had been reported in the area, that no bodies were found in the desert, that the shack I stayed in had burned down years ago. They didn't believe me. That's fine. They don't have to.